3, 2, 1, blast off! Yahoo! Yeehaw! Yahoo! Yeehaw!
We're back. Captyn Zodiak is here to share the astrological zodiac with all the people out there. But where is my co-host? I see her behind me, but she's not here tonight. We just welcomed her back last time, and now she's gone again. Carol, we miss you. And this means that I have to go on for a half hour talking to no one but the camera. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to review the zodiac, actually, because Carol and I, we've discussed all 12 signs of the zodiac, and I'm going to do a little bit of a refresher course tonight. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes about each sign, give you the key things to each sign, what each sign needs to know, and basically the only thing that you need to know for your happiness and well-being. So, without further ado, let's start with the sun sign of Aries. Why do we always start with the Aries? You look in the newspaper, they always start with Aries. Aries, Aries, Aries. Aries is always first. Why is that? Well, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. In the astrological calendar, that's the first sign, sign of spring. And it's quite fitting because Aries people always want to be first. Somebody told me one time, somebody pointed out something that was actually very interesting. She wasn't an astrologer, but she knew a little bit about astrology. She was a Libra, which is Aries' opposite sign. Opposites can always teach each other a lot and learn a lot from each other. And Aries are often accused of, being a little bit, into themselves and, that me first kind of thing. And she said, it's not so much that Aries are about me, it's that they need to be taken care of first. It's the infant of the zodiac, it's the first sign of the zodiac. And just like an infant, if you tend to the infant's needs, then the infant will supply you with endless joy and happiness. So she said, really with Aries, it's just that, if you let them be first and get everything taken care of with them, then they'll feel whole and complete, and then they have a lot to give the other person in the relationship. And that was a really keen insight from somebody who wasn't an astrologer, but was, again, a Libra, the opposite sign of zodiac. So Aries, the big thing for Aries, the lesson for Aries people is, Aries people come onto this planet, Aries is the warrior, they come into this planet with an extra dose of courage, but there's a reason that they have that extra dose of courage. They have to face their fears. Other signs can get through their life kind of sliding by without truly facing what they're afraid of, but not an Aries. An Aries will be a very unhappy person if they're not facing their fears. And Aries doesn't need a therapist. All an Aries has to do is go out and figure out what they're scared of and do it. If we construct a chart, an entire birth chart of an Aries, then we can see where their Aries sun is and where their Mars is, and we can see exactly where they need to show courage. But those of you who are watching tonight who don't know your entire chart, let me just tell you, whatever you're afraid of, that's what you need to do. Just leap forth. In the tarot deck, Aries is represented by a few different cards in the tarot deck. One of them is often the Fool. The Fool, and this isn't the fool like in a bad way, like playing a fool. It's just the fool leaps forward, just leaps onto new ventures, and that's what Aries people need to do, just leap forth like the ram, the king of the mountain, The Leo is the lion, the king of the jungle. The Aries is the king of the mountain. So all you Aries people, just go for it, You're an impulsive person. You're passionate. You're enthusiastic. Just do what you want to do, okay? Some famous Aries people, Marlon Brando, You know, Aries are often accused sometimes too of being playboys, players. Linda Goodman once said, now, you know, Linda Goodman, she wrote a book on the sun signs. Some astrologers sometimes don't highly recommend her, but I think that sometimes she gives a pretty good description of each sun sign. If you want to know more about your sign, sometimes her book's a good book to read. And you know, she points out that Aries people, even though they may be accused of being playboys, when they really fall in love, they're very, very loyal people. You know, just they really have to be in love, you know, because Aries, along with the other fire signs, are very idealistic. Like Sagittarians, for example. Now, they're often accused of being playboys and eternal bachelors. But again, it's a fire sign. They're very idealistic. If they find that person that really just they're madly in love with, they're going to be loyal to that person. But with that said, there are some very well-known playboys who are Aries people. Hugh Hefner, Warren Beatty. Enough said about Aries. I don't want to cut the other signs short. Taurus. What's the key lesson for Taurus? Now, Tauruses are very stable people. Tauruses are probably the most stable of all the signs. That's not to say that there's not a few crazy ones out there. Again, we always have to consider the rest of the birth chart, but we're just talking about the sun sign. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's grounded, it's earthy. It's ruled by Venus. There's two signs ruled by Venus, Taurus and Libra. But Libra is an air sign, Taurus is an earth sign. So it has the Venus qualities of having a sense of beauty and harmony, but in an earthy kind of way. And how does that earthiness come out? Sensuality. Taurus people are very sensuous. They're into the senses. They like to feel things before they buy it. They like to see how things look. I wouldn't imagine too many Taurus people would want to shop for their clothes online because they'd want to see how they feel when they're on. They'd want to get a good look at them, how they look on them. They're into sounds, you know. A lot of Taurus often is associated with music, you know. It's because Taurus and that Venus, it's you know, it's about just what feels good, you know. What feels good to the ear, what feels good to the taste buds. Many Tauruses are really big into eating. Some Tauruses actually have to watch that. Some Tauruses might eat a little bit too much. Actually, on a physical level, there's two kinds of Tauruses. There's Taurus the bull, and they're usually the bigger Tauruses. And then there's also the deer type, which are actually quite thin. They're strong, but thin. And you can usually spot them because they have deer-like eyes, big, earthy, doe kind of eyes. So that's Taurus. But the lesson for Taurus, and it's an important lesson, Taurus has to understand what Deepak Chopra says, that the only certainty is in uncertainty. Tauruses spend a lifetime trying to often, you know, make themselves financially secure, have lots of material comforts around them. All in what's really underneath it all is feeling secure. But as we all know, material items can vanish in an instant. So what Taurus really has to understand is that they're born into this world and the whole world is theirs. And being it's an earth sign, the healthiest thing that a Taurus can do is go out into nature, spend time in nature, and just understand that it's not my piece of property, you know, that I own. It's the whole world, you know. I'm here and just, you know, get into just being in the world. I have two Taurus people in mind when I talk about Tauruses that I'd like to share with you, anecdotal stories. It's a couple. Both of them are Tauruses. And before they had children, the wife had a full-time job. After a full-time job, she had a part-time job as a salesperson, and then she was also a professional singer. So she'd have rehearsal a couple of nights a week, and then she'd travel around the region singing in the band and everything. She was never home. She was always working. Husband, the same thing. He had a full-time job, then he had a business on the side, always working. I don't know if those two ever even saw each other. I don't even know how they ended up having kids. But they were just working, working, working because they wanted to feel secure with, you know, material items and money and everything, you know. So, you know, Taurus sometimes can focus a little bit too much on that, but again, they're Tauruses, so, you know, that's what makes them happy. And also another thing about Tauruses too, now speaking of material things, the husband, he used to collect, since he was a kid, toy cars. And when he grew up, he still had that collection in his mother's house. And he took that collection and actually he made it into a business. Again, he made it into a money kind of business. But when he bought a home, he set an entire room up as like a museum for these toy cars. And some of these toy cars were worth thousands of dollars, you know? So it was something that, because Tauruses like to get their hands on things, you know? And you know, Aries is the infinite zodiac. Taurus is the toddler who crawls around and feels things. That's where they get their sensuality from. They like to pick up their toys and feel them. And he had his toys, and as an adult, he had this toy collection, a huge toy collection. It was like a museum, and it was magnificent. As somebody who happens to love toy cars, boy, I used to enjoy really, you know, going over there and seeing that. But that's Taurus, you know. Gemini. Now, Gemini, they can't stop talking because Taurus was the toddler crawling around. Now Gemini gets to the stage where they start having a mental vision of their existence. This is when the baby starts talking and relating intellectually. So Gemini people, they have endless curiosity about the world, you know. They want to learn everything. They want to talk to people. They want to read. They want to watch television, movies, take in all the information they can, get ideas. Those ideas that they take in stimulate their own ideas. And Gemini people are always full of ideas and creativity and all kinds of just, you know, sometimes basically the ultimate for a Gemini person is what most of us would call a state of confusion. Most of us couldn't handle that. But a Gemini person, they can easily handle 2 tasks. Don't forget, Gemini's the twins. They can handle 2 jobs, 2 partners, 2 of everything, and sometimes even more than 2. So the real key for a Gemini to be happy is to always be mentally stimulated. Always be surrounded. If Gemini gets stuck on one idea, one belief system, they're not going to be happy. They have to be taken all in. Geminis get bored easy. So again, the key for Gemini is just to always have that kind of stimulation around. New things, new ideas, you know, lots of activity. They have a lot of energy. Some famous Gemini people are Prince, Paul McCartney, Angelina Jolie. These are people that, you know, if you think about them, they're people who, they sort of have an eternal youth about them. Great creativity. They're able, it's a mutable sign, so they're able to adapt to the times. And, you know, sometimes like Angelina Jolie, you know, in that case, they have so much mental energy that sometimes some of us might look at them and say, wow, they seem a little bit crazy, you know, a little bit different, but, you know, that's Gemini. Next sign of the zodiac, Cancer. Cancer is the mother of the zodiac. And when I say mother, of course, Cancer women, many of them find their greatest satisfaction through being a mother. And of course, I mean, that's true of, you know, most women, and most men find their greatest satisfaction through being you know, parents, but it's especially important for a Cancer person to be able to nurture her flock. If she doesn't become a mother, then perhaps it's to nurture her friends. You know, a Cancer person will have their group of friends that it's like their family, it's their extended family, a group of people that they feel comfortable with, because Cancer is a very, very sensitive person. Cancer people, often when they were young, something happened where they felt violated or hurt. And it might have been something that anybody else wouldn't have taken that seriously, but to them, it just really hurt them because they're such sensitive people. And Cancer, you know, it's the crab, they have the shell around them, and sometimes they're afraid to go outside of that shell. So what they often end up doing is they they build this very comfortable environment. Cancer people usually have very comfortable homes. It's so important that their home be comfortable to them. And their close group of friends and their family, this whole world, this little world that they feel comfortable with. And sometimes they shelter themselves from the rest of the world, and they're a little bit hesitant to venture out into beyond that group and that home, you know? So what a Cancer really needs to learn to do is to say, okay, I'm a really sensitive person, but I'll venture out, I'll slowly creep out, and if it feels a little bit too harsh out there today, I have a comfortable home that I can retreat back to, so it'll be okay. And if things get a little bit too tough, that's what they do. And speaking of nurturance, Sylvester Stallone, a Cancer person, this is someone who nurtured a project from its infancy into something that became a legend, the movie Rocky. You know, I mean, he took that thing and he created it, because cancer's the mother. It creates, it gives birth to, and then it nurtures. So he created Rocky, nurtured it along, and gave birth to this huge, beautiful baby of his, Rocky. David Hasselhoff is a Cancer. I don't know how involved he was with the beginnings of Baywatch, but he certainly nurtured that show and took it to great heights, you know. I mean, that show became the most watched show on the planet, and Cancer people often bring themselves a lot of money from nurturing projects, whether it's business, entertainment, whatever. Pamela Anderson, another Baywatch cast member, who also, after Baywatch, I believe VIP, the show that she does now, I believe that's the most watched television show on the planet. Cancer also rules the chest. Pamela Anderson has one of the most famous chests in the world. I think that's enough said about Cancers. Leo. Leo is about love. Leo is the performer that needs to take stage, and they do it whether they like it or not. Leos always call attention to themselves. When they walk into a party, somehow they're going to call attention to themselves, even the shyest of Leos. Because we think of Leos as the lion and being bold and fiery, you know, but some Leos are a shy little pussycat. But even if they're a shy little pussycat, they still call attention to themselves. And Leo needs to learn to be comfortable taking center stage, because they want to be loved. They want to be loved by their audience. They want to be applauded. So in order for that to happen, they have to have the courage to do it. So an example might be, you might have a Leo who is a guitarist. And this guitarist, maybe she's not even out to make that a career. Maybe she just wants to share her music with a few friends or a small group of people. But she's afraid maybe they won't like it, you know. And the thing is, for Leo to just have the courage to go out there and present their love to the world, whether it's through their guitar playing or through just who they are or whatever, you know. But to present themselves, and 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they're going to get the applause that they want, and then they're going to feel good. So Leo just needs to, you know, give out their love. And when they give out their love, you can't go wrong when you give love. You know, if you get rejected, it's the other person, it's not you. If you're given pure love like a Leo has to give, you're on the right track. Another thing about Leo people is that, you know something? I forgot what I was going to say. It was probably really important. It's probably just what Leos need to hear. I'm sorry, I don't remember. That's because I'm watching the clock and I see I have about 8 minutes left and I haven't even gotten through half the Zodiac yet. Because I'm talking and talking and talking. You might think I'm a Gemini the way I'm rambling on. I'm not, but you might think that. Anyway, Leo people, Oh, I know what I was going to say about Leos. I remember. Leos, because they love so intensely. You know, when a Leo person falls in love, they put the person up on a pedestal. They love and adore them. They want to be loved and adored too. You know, I mean, it goes both ways. You know, Leo's the king and the queen, and they're up on a throne, but they put their partner up on a throne too. And they can be the most loyal and adoring of lovers. If you have a Leo partner, you know, you're a very lucky person. But if that relationship comes to an end, I have found that Leo people have the hardest time out of any sign breaking up. You know, actually, I think the second most would probably be Aries, probably because they're both fire signs and they're both very passionate and idealistic, and when they go into a relationship they're very idealistic about that, and for it to come to an end they really take it hard. Sagittarians, I don't find, even though they're a fire sign and they're idealistic, I find they're more idealistic about their beliefs, and so when it comes to relationships maybe it's not quite so hard for them. But Leos and Aries, they have a hard time with breakups. But there's no reason to break up with your Aries or Leo person because they're just so full of love and passion and enthusiasm and excitement. But we've been talking a lot about Aries and Leos now, so let's move on to Virgo. And I have a lot to say about Virgo. And you know what? I have 6.5 minutes here, so if I don't get through the rest of them, the next time, I'm not going to get through the rest of them. So the next time I will, you know, Carol should be here next time, so we'll both talk about the rest of the signs and give you more of a rundown. Virgo. I have a lot to say about you Virgo people. Virgo is often misunderstood, I think. Virgo, when you read about Virgos in most of these books that you pick up in a store, you know, if you're a Virgo, you probably read this and you go, wow, this doesn't sound too exciting. You know, I'm not sure if I even want to take this astrology thing any further because this, I don't know, some of it kind of sounds like it fits me, but it doesn't sound like there's too much exciting about Virgos here. You know, I'm reading about Virgo and, you know, it says I'm organized and I'm disciplined and I'm practical and I'm a hard worker. But there's a lot more to me than that. I'm a passionate person and that's okay. I have a clock here, so I'm all set with the time. Thanks. I just got a message from my director, 5-minute sign. That's about what I have. But as I just told the director, I got a little clock here tonight, so I'm keeping an eye on things. So back to Virgos. Yeah, there's a lot more to Virgo than just those kind of practical things that you read. For example, Virgo is another earth sign. And so again, the senses, Virgos can be very sensual, sexual people. Also, though, it is the Virgin, and I find a lot of Virgos leading celibate type lifestyles, such as Michael Jackson, Richard Gere, you know, he's up in the mountains meditating with the gurus in India and stuff, you know. So a lot of times they do tend to lead lifestyles like monks and nuns, you know. But not usually. I mean, mostly Virgo people, you know, have great relationships just like anyone else. A lot of times Virgos are late bloomers. So a lot of times they don't get married until a little bit later in life, you know. But the lesson for Virgo people, and this is, if you're a Virgo, if you get this, you'll be happy. The perfection is in the imperfection. I'm going to say it again, Virgo. The perfection is in the imperfection. If you get that, you'll be happy. Because if you're a Virgo artist, maybe you're the Virgo screenwriter who's been writing a screenplay for the last 10 years and nobody's seen it because every time you think you're about to present it, you go back and you say, but I got to change this, I got to change this, this isn't right, this isn't right. You're such a perfectionist. But as the Persian rug weavers know, they weave these rugs that are pieces of art and then they purposely weave a mistake into it, just to say that I understand that nothing is perfect because everything is perfect as it is. Another story that I always tell, when we look at a squirrel, we just look at a squirrel and say, hey, that's a squirrel and it's beautiful. But when we look at another person or we look at ourselves in the mirror, and we all have Virgo somewhere in our charts, but we're talking about Virgo now, so this is especially true for Virgos. When we look in the mirror, we look at another person, we start saying, maybe I need to change this, maybe I need to change that. Now, Michael Jackson, who's a famous Virgo, he did that. He kept looking in the mirror saying, I need to change this, I need to change that, and look what he did. Look what he did to himself. Maybe a long time ago, he should have just looked in the mirror and said, hey, I'm perfect the way I am. And Virgos do it to other people too. I just had a date recently with this Virgo girl. She was very attractive, as many Virgos are. And it was one date, and that's all it'll ever be. Why? She told me she never meets any guys. I think most guys probably sense it before they ever even ask her out. I was just perhaps foolish enough to ask her out. But she was such a perfectionist, you couldn't win with this girl. She just didn't even give me a chance. You know, she was like, I felt like I was defending myself and having to explain my lifestyle to her and who I am, and because she was critiquing me so much. And little did she know that if she had given me a chance, I actually think the two of us might have hit it off pretty well. But I'm probably pretty fortunate that that didn't happen, because I would have went through months or years or a lifetime of being with somebody that was always just like, you know, picking things apart. But that's a Virgo in its negative aspect. And we all have our negative qualities and our positive qualities. And that's what holds a Virgo back, is when they start picking things apart and they use their mental facilities too much, because Virgos have good mental facilities. When they start making all kinds of judgments and everything, you know. We have about a minute left, so the rest of the zodiac we will have to continue with the next time. Let me just say again, no matter what sign you are, there's different stages of evolution for each sign. You can be a Virgo who's caught up in being a perfectionist and it's holding you back, or you can be a Virgo who's out there producing this great product, whether it's a piece of music or a piece of art or a business project or a relationship. There's all stages of that. There's all stages of each sign, you know. You can be an Aries who is, you know, just being an infant and wrapped up into yourself, or you can be an Aries who's elevated yourself past that and you're out there being the warrior and you know, fighting for the good of all mankind and you know, really giving in relationships and everything. You know, you can be a Scorpio who's caught up in, we'll talk more about Scorpios next time, of course, but you can be a Scorpio who's caught up in your fears and the dark side, or you can be a Scorpio who's elevated himself to this high level where you're able to transform yourself and other people and be a great healer and bring people to light. So every sign has its negative qualities and its positive qualities, and every person has, oh, my little clock's going off here. I was wondering what that sound was. Okay, so I do have to wrap it up. But every sign, also every person has every sign in their chart somewhere. So if you're saying, whoa, thank God I'm not this sign, guess what? Part of you is that sign, because we're all human and we all understand every aspect of humanity, and we all have it somewhere inside of us. And we're all, when it really comes down to it, we're all a lot more alike than we're different. This is Captyn Zodiak. I can't wait to see you next time. Next time, hopefully, Carol will be back with us. Have a great day and have a great week and have a great month and have a great year and have a great life. See you soon.